Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Stronger Live show. My name is Tatiana Kolovu. I'm coming to you live from Bloomington, Indiana, where I live with my family. Someone just in the notes said, we're waiting for the AI senses here to guide us. I'm just the door opener, I would say. I was fortunate enough to have a lot of amazing response in this month's Stronger newsletter. But the Sensi is coming, and his name is Dave, and I'll introduce him in a little bit. So I teach communication. I help professionals and students be better at what they do. And I don't know if you have noticed, but since 2020, in fact, since November of 2022, we have been hit with a wave of new information and new technology that is going to change everything for us. So I thought if this is happening, we better get ahead of it. And we better be able to make a list, or at least for me, of communication tools that related to AI that can help us be better communicators. So if you missed the newsletter, we're going to post it on the feed in just a little bit. It has ideas on speaking AI tools for speaking, practicing, for writing, for listening. If you don't want to take the time to take notes and someone else does it for you, for slides and search design. So today we will talk a little bit about how our guest uses a lot of these tools. And then I wanted to focus and anchor at the end on the research piece. He has several new classes. Before we do that, I love seeing where you're all coming in from. You all know I'm originally from Athens, Greece, India. Manoli, Kalos ήρθες. We have a Greek in the house. I love it. Some people from Italy, and we have friends joining us from the Netherlands. Thank you again. Thank you for joining. And this is recorded, so this is going to show up on my feed. Dave Birss is a friend from LinkedIn. Honestly, we never physically have met or shared space with one another, but I feel like I've known him for years. In fact, I think we met in an advisory board or somewhere behind the scenes in a LinkedIn meeting. But Dave is an educator, an enthusiastic educator, an author of several books, and he's a trainer and a speaker. I'd love to bring Dave in. Dave is coming to us from London, and he is originally from Scotland. And I'd like to say a Scot and a Greek walk in a bar and AI tools come up. No, that's not a funny joke. Let's bring Dave in the house. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Tatiana. Well, I'm dyslexic, so for this, it's a Scotsman walks into a bra.
Scotsman walks into, but you don't say a Scot. I would say a Scotsman. Dave Birss, I've been thinking and wanting, and you and I go back and forth in so many behind the scenes notes. Thank you. I know you're busy. I know you're traveling. I really appreciate your time and your knowledge here with us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. This is good. And hello, everyone. If there's any Scots, give me an eye in the comments there.
So let's dive right into this. Asim is from London. He wanted to share that. We wanted to know, as we're getting started, we usually keep these to about 40 minutes. We know maybe some of you may be hitting us first thing in the morning, or it's evening over across the pond, or it's around the noon time in the Midwest. But as you're thinking about this, tell us what are your hot questions that you have about using AI tools in order to be better communicators. And Dave, you have several new LinkedIn learning courses. We'll get to that too.
Yeah.
Let's get started. How does AI help you be a better communicator, Dave?
Well, for me, as somebody who writes books, I don't think I would ever write a book again without the help of AI. And one of the reasons for that is AI is brilliant for exploring concepts. A lot of people think that what they want to do is they want it to do research for them, like they would do in Google. Let's get AI to do that. But don't think of AI as Google. It's not a search engine. It's not for that. If you're wanting to do that, go to Google. Google's great at that. But what it's helping me with is it changes my job as a writer. So it means that instead of me having the blank page that I have to fill with words, I go and become a copy editor, really. So the job changes from being the creator of the content to a copy editor. And I get a first draft and I get first ideas coming through. And then
Mhm.
I take them and I add my own human opinion and my own judgment to that to turn what I get into something better. So what I'm
Absolutely.
doing is I'm using AI to augment my abilities, not just to try and make things faster. That's really going for efficiency is not the best approach for AI.
Mm, mm.
Effectiveness and helping using AI to help you achieve more than you could previously achieve is the way that I use it.
On your own. I know the feeling just from writing newsletters or articles or scripts for LinkedIn videos, that feeling of staring at the blank page.
Yeah.
And many times what I may do is go and do research and brainstorm and come up with a skeleton and then look at it again and again and then start to write. But what you're saying is that you can have AI help you get started with that and
Yeah.
progress from there. When you write, your courses are quite technical, but you always bring such a joyful, playful addition of who you are to what you do, which I love, and that makes you attractive as a trainer. Do you go back and add an example of this, or you tell a story of how do you make it yours so that someone
Mm.
doesn't say, this seems very mechanical or robotic. This is not you. The AI tools for communication on Stronger newsletter, a very dear learner and one that I communicate a lot said, your voice sounds a little bit more robotic. Did AI write this? And I said, the
Mm.
descriptions of what some of the tools were from their websites. And that's why you say that. But people
Yeah.
can tell. So how do you combat that?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, as you're saying, sort of being a little bit sort of more sort of playful, I've um,
Of
I
course.
yeah, to me, combating that is a really important thing. And there's so many people that are looking at AI as a hack. They're looking at it as a way of being able
Maybe
to
my academic students, yes.
being able to
Call it
sort
what
of
it is.
outsource the stuff that I don't enjoy. Let's just give it to the AI and get the
Yeah,
AI
yeah.
to do that. You're basically you're onto a loser if you're doing that. You really have to be adding your own level to it. And the way that I look at it is when I'm working with the AI, I've got my computer here, and when I'm working with the AI, I see it as a creative partner. And I used to work in advertising.
Mhm.
So I worked in creative departments and you were mainly in creative partnerships. So sometimes I'd be a copywriter working with an art director. Sometimes I'd be an art director working with a copywriter because I could do both. So I was happy working with either. So you would work in a team and the ideas would ping pong between the two of you until you got something that you felt was good. And that's the way that I look at my collaboration with the AI is that it's not about just gimme, gimme, gimme. I ask a question, give me a solution. Instead, it's like, oh, that's interesting. And then I will give something back to say, you've just made me think of this. What do you think of? Could you explore this? And then
Mm,
the AI will explore it, comes back to me. It's my judgment. And we go backwards and forwards. And I do that a lot with
mhm,
AI.
mhm, mhm.
And I think there's a big thing about your attitude to it. There's a lot of people who got back to me on with questions from one of my courses. I kept saying to the AI, please. And I mentioned in the course that this is something that I think is important to be polite.
Mhm.
So be polite with people. You should be polite with the AI. And the reason that I was saying that was because I feel that if you're polite, you're actually giving respect. And if you respect the output, you're going to get more from it. So I
Interesting.
was trying to put the humans in a mindset that would help them get the most out of the interaction by
Sure.
respecting the AI. But one of my students a couple of weeks ago came back to me and they'd done a study based on politeness. And I
Ah,
need to take this and I need to expand on this myself because I've got something I want to test. And what they discovered was that being polite gives you better responses. If
ah,
you are if you are rude to the AI starts to shut down, just like a human would.
what?
If you
Tell
are
me
polite to the AI and you encourage it and go, "That's awesome.
yeah,
Thanks. Can you give me more?"
more.
It will, and it opens up and it gives you
Oh
more.
my goodness. I
And
wanna read that study. That's
so
fascinating.
one of the things that I want to look at is I've got a few studies I'm wanting to do, and this one is about sentiment analysis, because I've got a feeling that the sentiment that you interact with to the AI, I kind of get a feeling that the AI probably mirrors that back to you. Therefore, if you're polite and helpful, the AI will be polite and helpful.
Huh. So I want to pause for a minute and just extract a nugget. What you said, the mindset quite often, the assumption is we're going to use AI as a hack and we're going to cut back on time. It's going to get me my homework or my paper or my email or my memo done quicker. You're saying that there is a correlation between the time that you spend and the quality of the result. The more time you go back and forth, the better the quality that you will get. And so we shouldn't see it as a time saver. We should see it as a quality enhancer. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. There's the thing that's really important that I have learned from it is for particularly the creative tasks that I'm wanting to do. And I'm also, I do visual stuff. So I'm an artist in my spare time. So I create lino cut and wood cut art prints, really old fashioned way of creating images. And I've been collaborating with AI to do that. But what I'm finding is that whether I'm writing, whether I'm creating art, it doesn't necessarily save me time that much. However, it does let me achieve more than I could previously achieve. And I think that what I'm learning from that is a really important approach. About 80% of companies that contact me to ask me about my opinion about stuff on AI, they seem to be wanting to get more productivity, more efficiency. What they're wanting to do is to use AI to get people to do stuff faster, with the horrible idea being that you need less people, therefore it's going to save you money. Now, what happens if you replace humans who are capable of excellence, not all of them achieve it, but humans who are capable of excellence, and you replace it with AI, and AI excels at adequacy, then that becomes your limit.
We will be subpar.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's a really, really bad idea. And if you imagine it, I'm quite mathematical and scientific as well as artsy fartsy. So I've got that sort of balance. And if you imagine that there's a line going across here, and this is kind of the financial company, you've got your financial input, your financial output, and then you've kind of got this sort of cost line, that's your operational profit. Now, if you imagine that you've got your operational profit and you start over time to just try and rationalize things, give it to AI, go for efficiency, go for productivity, try and save time and money, there's only so much you can save below that line.
Yeah.
There's only a limited amount that you can save below that line. So you're kind of, it's a race to the bottom at that stage. Now, if you use AI in the other way, which is to augment people's abilities, to help them achieve what they could never previously achieve. And believe me, that's totally possible. I do that all the time. It helps me do stuff that I could never have previously done. And if you use it in that way to help people excel, to open up opportunities that organization never previously had, above that operational profit line, you have got an infinite amount of growth above that, rather than the limited amount. Yeah.
More creativity, more innovation, but not to cut back. I agree that it could help with some tasks, research, find me a restaurant that's close to this hotel and some of that stuff. But I agree with you that once I get involved with it, it takes more time, just because I want to make sure that the quality of what I produce is good. I do want to comment, we have so many people from all over the world. We are representing Cameroon and Spain, and many of the states of the United States were from Uruguay. And we have a person said ciao, an Italian in Bangkok. My goodness, I want to talk to him in a different cross-cultural communication course. But Hamza, who, by the way, has been saying, I can't wait. Thank you, Hamza, for being with us. He said, wouldn't it be smarter on creating the content yourself and using AI to edit? Do you ever do that? I sometimes will write, and then I need 50 words fewer. And so I'll drop it in and I'll say, can you cut back by 50 words? Or can you make bullets of this? Do you use it for editing purposes?
I do.
You create?
I use it for all parts of the process. So
Okay.
there's workshops that I'm running for companies all over the world at the moment. I'm just on Monday I fly out to Chicago, and then Tuesday I'm flying to Newark, and then back
Wow.
to London on Wednesday. So I've got a crazy week the beginning of next week, and part of what I'm doing is I'm teaching and running workshops on AI, and
Mm-hmm.
I've got a system, a framework that I've created, which helps people understand how to make the most of AI in their job. And here
Mm-hmm.
you go. I'll just share it here just now, because I think people probably still want help with it if they want to do it. But it's really simple. What you do is you take a task, and many people go, they try to give the AI an entire task. So they'll say, it's like, write me a YouTube video. You know, write me a YouTube video on the importance of nutrition and cat food. You know, they'll write these like really rubbish short prompts, and they expect the whole task to be done.
Sure.
But humans don't approach that task in that way. And we have to understand how humans approach the task so we can get the best out of this amazing thinking machine that we've got. And the way that humans approach the task is to go, all right, okay, it's a YouTube video. What we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to do research. Then we're going to come up with a bunch of concepts about how we might communicate that. Then we're going to come up with a bunch of bullet points for the different copy points that we want to put into our script. Then we're going to do a first draft of that script. Then we're going to judge that script. You know, and you've got judgment and creation and all sorts of things, like your divergent, convergent diamond patterns that you would have naturally when you're concepting. So you split it into these subtasks. And once you've split your larger task into subtasks, you then put it into one of three different rows. The first row is, this is human only. This is a human job. So things like judging the concepts. You've come up with a bunch of concepts. The AIs maybe come up with a bunch of concepts. Judging them, that's a human only thing. So that would go in the human only role.
The critical thinking piece, yeah.
Yes. Then you've got the top row is AI. We just hand that to AI. And then the middle row is AI plus human. So actually a collaborative thing. Now, once we've got that, what I do in the workshop is we do an example task, and we split it up like this. We divide it into the rows, and then if it's in the top two rows, AI only or AI plus human, we then use that to go, right, we need to write prompts for all of these. And then I've got a couple of frameworks that I use to write prompts, and we start to write prompts that will help us do each of these individual subtasks, not trying to give the AI the whole task, which is what most people seem to do. And that is one of the reasons they get a whole pile of steaming manure.
Yeah.
And then they go, it's not any good. It's not creative. No. You briefed it wrong.
And you do such a splendid job of explaining how to break this down in your LinkedIn course, the one that I went ahead and shared. And we will go ahead and share that as well. That's really helpful. I'm getting bombarded with questions, and I want to invite Dimitri is asking how not to lose your authenticity, identity, and style with AI, assuming you've taken the role of a copywriter rather than the creator as such. And we talked a little bit about this. I always struggle with this as well, making sure that the stories and examples are mine. The line and the flow, it doesn't ever sound very stern, as I may say, or very robotic. But as you say, you have to collaborate with the human and AI. Do you struggle with this, Dave?
I don't struggle with it too much, but I will say it's time consuming. So I've written. I've been a TV presenter, and I've written scripts for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I have written books, I've written adverts, I've written brochures. So I've done so much writing through my career. So I'm very comfortable writing, even although I'm dyslexic. I still am very comfortable writing. Now, I've got to say that there are a couple of things I'd want to say, is that actually you can brief the AI on the tone you want it to write in. Yes. So I have created, when I do my LinkedIn learning videos, those latest 3 courses, not the first one I did back in March, but those latest 3 courses, I wrote the scripts for those because I'm delivering it to a teleprompter.
Yeah.
But I wrote the 3 scripts for those with the help of AI. And the way that I did that was I bullet pointed all of the content, generally in roughly the flow, because I find that I can actually, if I'm bullet pointing the content, I write far faster because I'm not trying to format it into sentences and paragraphs and everything. I don't think about that.
Like sticky notes on a board.
Yeah, it's just, it's an absolute brain dump. I just vomit into a document, you know, and it's just, here we go, a bunch of bullet points. Then I take those bullet points and I've created a prompt within ChatGPT that tells it the tone I want it to write in. And I'm looking for something that's quirky, that's witty, something that is conversational, that's got no jargon in it. So this is all in the prompt. It briefs the AI, it briefs ChatGPT about the tone that I'm after. Then I put my bullet points into that prompt. Boom, it bangs me back a script. Now, once I've got that script, I will then maybe spend about an hour per lesson just tinkering with that script.
Well, can I pause you for a minute? So in the beginning, you say, I want witty but targeted. I want funny but descriptive. You're trying to get the voice, and then you put in your bullet points, and then you get a first draft of your ideas that are printed, and then you spend an hour. I know the scripts, by the way, friends, 300 to 500 words, no more. It's painful for us to write, especially if you're a person that tells stories or gives examples. It's tough to do, but it's very tight on words. I use it to help me tighten most of the times. But after that, an hour per script. That's very helpful. I think it can help Dimitri figure out that first you figure out the style. And I think, Dimitri, you put in your questions as well. Hamza has another question here. And soon we're also going to link descriptions of the 3 new courses. Dave has a course on using AI for job searching, using AI for productivity. I'm so intrigued by that. And then search engine optimization, 3 more courses. Hamza says, do you use for complete free exploration, or do you do targeted brainstorming where you ask it to search or find ideas under very specific parameters? Dave, are you able to do a little show and tell?
Sure. Okay. Let me bring up my, here we go. Ooh, look at that. ChatGPT in a browser.
Why don't I go, sorry, the other way. Here we go. Okay, I'm going away so you can showcase this. Shelby, I did it by myself. Okay.
Way. So we've got here, I mean, the question, the answer for, was it Hamza? I think that question.
Yes, Hamza said, here, I'll repeat the question. Do you use for complete free exploration, or do you do a targeted brainstorming where you ask it to search or find ideas under very specific parameters?
I do both.
Okay.
Absolutely, I do both. So let's say, for example, let me see if I can do something here that will try and make some kind of sense. So let's imagine that we've got a brief that we're working on, and this brief is for a self-driving car. Okay. Doesn't exist. Let's go for it. I use this as a brief for, I've used it for a decade for a brief for humans to get them thinking about how to come up with ideas. And I used it in one of the courses where I briefed the AI on this, and the AI came up with ideas that the humans had come up with, and it came up with some that I haven't seen in 10 years. And I've seen hundreds of responses to that brief. So I was really impressed. So let's imagine that we're wanting to be very broad here. One of the things that I like to do is get it to come up with analogies. So let's see, we are trying to generate, and I'm not doing like a proper prompt here. This is just as an example. I'm trying to generate test drives for a self-driving car. Can you give me 20 analogies? So we're trying to be quite broad here, that might help me with my creative thinking.
Folks, notice how he gives it a situation, the context in which he's working. He, at times, from what I've seen in his courses, he gives it an audience that's going to be reading what the chat comes up with, and then asks for 20. Oh my.
This I can actually see here. This is fantastic.
I'm wearing my glasses, but it's still small enough. Can you read a couple to me?
I will read a couple. So let's go for number 3. Test drives are like test flights for an airplane. ensuring the self-driving car can navigate different terrains and situations. Okay, so planes have got autopilot. This is like autopilot, so we could see your test drive as being in a plane and autopilot. Okay, that's interesting. I like the first one. Test drives are like rehearsals for a play, ensuring the self-driving car performs flawlessly on the road. Wow. So, you know, I kind of like that as an analogy. Test drives are like archaeological expeditions. Exploring uncharted territories to uncover potential road hazards. Right. So, for example, let's imagine there that we're going to pick one of these, and then so this is
about the archaeology one. Yes.
Let's do that. Let's do that. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to say that this is being general and trying to explore broadly and trying to get things that will nudge our thinking in directions we wouldn't normally go down. That to me is a lot of what my job has been for the last, well, my goodness, 30 years, working as a creative in advertising for 20 years, being creative director for much of that time, and then training people on how their brain works for creative thinking for the last 10, 15 years. And so it's been a big part of my role is getting people to understand how to come up with ideas that they wouldn't normally come up with. Yep. So that's what we've done here. This is nudging us in different directions. Now we're going to say, I like your approach. Test drives are like archaeological there. And then we might sort of say, please, can you explain how we might use that in an advertising campaign? Give me 5 examples with and then what we can do here is we can say that the format, deliver your response.
So notice he's speaking to it as if it's markup. A human asking for quantitative results and asking for something pretty specific. Raul is next questions about ethics, and the following one is about BARD. So good. we're gonna do this, and then I want to make sure we answer all of those.
Each and short
paragraph. Give a creative headline. Ooh, okay. For each of the 5. Let's see.
So we're saying, give me 5 examples. Deliver your response in markup. That means it'll use like it'll give you like bold headings. It'll give you bullet points. It will give you subheads, all kind of stuff like that. Sometimes it delivers it using HTML, so like H1, H2 paragraph tags when you ask for markup. But kind of what I'm looking for is just like bold headlines and things. Give a creative headline for each and a short paragraph describing the concept. All right. So let's see what it does here. So we're taking one of our broad explorations, and then we're saying, right, be more specific. I want concepts that come from this.
But around this one analogy. Okay.
So it's already done it. Here we go. Headline, unearth hidden dangers. Join our test drive adventures. Embark on an exciting journey with our self-driving cars as we delve into uncharted territories like intrepid archaeologists. Our test drives are more than just test drives. They're thrilling expeditions to uncover potential road hazards. Okay, I maybe don't want to look at road hazards for this. So I might... and the second one's about uncovering road hazards as well. Right. Third one, journey into the unknown. Test drives, road perils. Come on, dude. Drive fearlessly.
Road challenge. Skip that. I like it because, well, maybe
so you go. You then sort of say, I don't want scary road hazards. Please, because be polite, people. Be polite to the AI. Please, can you try again with more positive and...
I say thank you to Siri in the car when she calls people for me and sends me. You can't help it.
Good. Well, it's because you're a nice person, Tatiana. We know that.
You know, you put you in a good mood. More positive and exciting.
Adventures. Okay, so I've said there, I don't want scary road hazards. Please, can you try again with more positive and exciting adventures?
Look at that.
Okay, so unleash the explorer within. Test drives as thrilling road adventures. So you can see that it's feeding on my input here. So with adventures there, discover the road less traveled. Test drives as epic journeys of exploration. Like, that starts to get into a really nice idea that can be activated beautifully across comms. Unveiled road marvels. So it's no longer road perils. It's wrote
Yes.
marvels.
Way to flip the tone and be more positive.
Yeah. So now I'm getting ideas that I could develop. Now, the way that I'm looking at this is I'm not looking at this as concepts that I will definitely just take as they are. I'm looking at this as things that will spark my thinking so that I can develop these and take them in new directions. Because as somebody who, I've picked up a few awards in my time, and I've been creative director of some of the biggest agencies in the UK. And I kind of understand, as much as I'm out of the advertising industry for 13 years, I kind of understand what makes good communication. I've got, we call it a gut instinct, but basically it's unconscious learning through time that has led me to understand what works. So I've got an instinct from looking at these as to what would work and how I would make them work. So there's still a huge human element that would go into this, but I'm just looking at this to try and spark my thinking.
Absolutely. I'm thinking I have to do a keynote presentation later in August, and I was just talking to the client, and you have a theme. You've got me thinking that I'm going to use ChatGPT to get me thinking of, should I tell this type of story or this type of story? It has to be my story. So back to the question about authenticity, it can be sort of your augmentation of your information. I want to transition to another topic that's really important, and I know one that you are paying a lot of attention to, Dave, and companies you work with. Raul is saying, how ethical is the use of this as a generator at work? And honestly, I've also heard of new hires being fired in the beginning of because we're at the beginning of this. So they're putting out work, or they're taking client information and dropping it into ChatGPT, and that's a surefire way to get you fired. But are there any guidelines on how to use it? This was not planned. I want you to know. Raul just asked the question, but you have the answer.
I wonder, should I bring up the thing that we've been talking about?
Yes, you should. You should. You all don't know, and this was not planned. But anytime you have something so new, someone says, are there any rules and guidelines? Are there any promises? Is there a manifesto that a company will sign and say, we promise to follow these guidelines? Dave,
you're kidding me. That came up, honestly.
Yeah, wow. I'm not making it up.
Okay, right. There's something that I'm just trying to find a link here so that I can bring it up on screen. If you just bear with me a second.
So if you just joined us, now we've stepped into the ethics of this too. Woo! And I have seen this before.
So because Tatiana is an absolute genius and an absolute gem of a human being.
We were just chatting about this, right?
Yeah, when I started working on this idea of creating a manifesto for companies and for individuals on how to use AI, I naturally wanted to get Tatiana's feedback on this. So she gave me some amazing feedback, and her changes have been made in this very thing right here.
Very cool.
So
yes.
I've not launched this yet, and it might be another few weeks before I launch it because I'm wanting to get some big sponsors on board. I'm actually looking to get governments on board as well with this. So I've taken on an assistant to help me. One of the main things is with this.
Someone.
So the Sensible AI Manifesto has got a bunch of things here, like use AI to augment skills. As I said, it's not about replacing people, it's about using it to make humans better. And then the second one here, right here, is use data responsibly. Be ethical, support your employees, assign leaders. There we go. But the reason that here, this whole thing of ethics and using data responsibly, if companies don't tell their staff how they can and can't use data with publicly accessible AI, then it's the company's fault, not the staff's fault.
Yeah.
They have to be so clear on this up front, which is why companies need to know this. And this is a really important thing. This isn't just a new piece of technology. It's not just like Microsoft Word that's just been launched. The reason this is important actually goes back right to the very earliest history of humans. So if we look at sort of when modern humans came around 30 to 40,000 years ago, and at that point, we started to come up with inventions. We invented clothing, we invented jewelry, we invented language, written language particularly. There's two ways that humans can add value. There's thinking and there's doing. Up until this point, we've been focusing on doing. Now, you can imagine that what we've done at the wheel was about reducing doing. All of this stuff, even calculators were about reducing the doing, even mental doing, not just physical doing. But thinking is something that we've never had anything for until now. And now AI, the generative AI, is the first time in history we've had an industrial solution to thinking. And that's why it's so important, because we have a doing and thinking. Doing, we've completely nailed that through automation and through all sorts of stuff. But thinking, that's why this is so important.
Yeah.
So it's really important that all companies get on board with this. They have to understand their ethical stance on this. They have to understand what their strategy should be with AI, and they need to make it hugely clear, absolutely crystal clear to all of their employees how they use this technology, what they can put in and what they can't put in.
Yes.
Now, there's AIs you can get that are ring-fenced so that the stuff does not go to the publicly accessible training data, because anything that goes into ChatGPT publicly also gets used as training for future output. So it means that things you put in, if it's proprietary information, could end up coming out as an output for somebody else. There's every chance that could happen. So you don't ever want that to happen. So it's really, really important that you understand what information you can put into publicly accessible AIs, and the company needs to work out, does it need its own ring-fenced, sandboxed AI that is not connected to the publicly accessible AI, so none of your data is used as training.
And Alicia just said she's in a company in an industry that has some of those guardrails, but it's all happening so fast. I'm sure that the manifesto that you've created is an educational tool. I'm sure people will say, yeah, I'll sign it so I can show that I've signed it. How do we use it again? I mean, there's going to have to be backtracking there with how you use it. Someone, and again, you and I talked about touching on this. Where is the one question? Eunice said, Bard is better than ChatGPT. Dave, comment on that.
Eunice, I don't know how you are measuring that, but I just cannot agree. Why is Bard better than ChatGPT? What are you trying it with? I have not found.
Tell us.
I have done a lot of testing of these things, and I have not found a single user case so far where I would go, I'm going to use Bard for this. So ChatGPT is better for conversations, and it remembers a lot more conversations. ChatGPT actually, when you brief it properly, is more accurate. When I've tried the same kinds of prompts, putting them into Bard, I've been getting stuff that even contradicts itself in its own response. So personally, my experience is that I've not found that use case that says, hey, Bard's the thing I'm going to use. And I'm still hunting for it. I go back regularly to check. But for me, the conversational AIs that I use, there's 3 of them. There's ChatGPT, and I use the Pro account, but I mainly use 3.5, which is the one that everyone's got access to. And I use Microsoft Bing, because that has got live access to the web and is fantastic for finding information, bringing it back and processing it. So a huge fan of that. You need the Microsoft Edge browser, and then Bing is in the top right-hand corner. Just roll over the little speech bubble with the Bing logo in it. Boom, you've got your chatbot. And then there's another one which is totally different, which is pi.ai, pi.ai. And it's something that I just use to have conversations with and to bat ideas off and to get opinions of. And it's very human in its conversational abilities. I mean, disturbingly so. So I'm really impressed with it. Yeah.
Since we're name dropping tools, and for the sake of time, when you create your slides, your visuals are always just fantastic. And I'm not surprised. Your background is in marketing and advertising. But tools, listening tools, trying to be in meetings, to listen a little better. In the newsletter, I referred an interesting tool comparing our personalities based on our LinkedIn profile. If you are going to pitch me with an idea, or someone called Crystal, there's so many different ways to read your audience. Are there any tools that I didn't mention that you use that you think our users will benefit from? Because I want to make that list grow as we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because I don't work in an office, I'm just me.
Yeah.
I don't use a lot of those tools because I don't actually need to. I mean, a lot of what I do is I'm in my little studio here and I've got my film cameras and my lights and my microphones and all the rest. And I just do my work in here. I do a lot of filming. I do a lot of writing. And I don't tend to use other tools, to be honest. And a lot of the other tools that I know some people are using and raving about, because I've spent so much time learning how to code stuff within ChatGPT. So in the prompts, I see them as almost like little programs.
Sure.
I can get them to do just about anything I want. And even I was on a LinkedIn Live yesterday with Bonnie Beafor, Doug Rose, and it was all about project management. And it was, can you use AI to produce things like Gantt charts? And on the show, I said, no, you can't use ChatGPT for that. And I went away today and using a new thing that's in ChatGPT called Code Interpreter, I got it to create Gantt charts.
There you go.
So I'm constantly finding new stuff it can do. But so I mainly use ChatGPT for anything that requires text now, and anything that requires code. And I can code myself, but it's so much better when I get stuff done. ChatGPT.
My daughter uses it. She's told me it can create good code. And if you don't now, every one of our students should know how to code with the help of ChatGPT. Hopefully they can learn a little better. We're getting a little close to our end time. So for the ones of you asking for tools, we're going to list the tools I was referencing were all in the newsletter. So we'll drop that into the feed. And there's a few more questions. If we didn't get to them, I'll ask Dave to jump in and answer, or I will as well. I wanted to finish by saying we probably, if we have this conversation in a year from now, Dave, everything will have changed tremendously and evolved. Is there anything you want people to go away with? We unveiled the manifesto in this meeting. We talked about pros and cons and some, and you demonstrated so well how you would be conversational, and you reminded us to be polite. If there's one thing you want people to do leaving this live here today, what would it be?
Well, if you're working in the comms industry, you probably understand the importance of a good brief. And you probably also understand that most people write really, really bad briefs. I certainly found that all the way through my career. I got very, very few good briefs. Now, briefing is so important with AI. You have to understand that if you give the AI less information than you would give a human to do the same job, you cannot expect good results. And what I discovered is that when it comes to even conceptual thinking, that you can get a lot out of AI conceptually as long as you brief it correctly. So all the people that you're hearing about in the comms industry and the world of marketing who are saying it's just not as creative, it's rubbish, it's just not human, it's not as good. Basically, what you're measuring with them is they're showing that they don't know how to write a good prompt. They don't know how to write a good brief, because if you brief it as well as you'd brief a human, you will get good results. So imagine, you've just got to understand that the real skill to learn here is prompt engineering, prompt writing. And if you can understand how to write a good prompt, you can get good stuff out of AI. Yeah.
And we should tag the course that you do to share that. I learned a lot. A last comment from Lucas, who says, how about AI for learning? I find it an amazing help to help me learn new things. I completely agree. I do ask you, though, sometimes don't take it for face value. There are some things that it tells you that don't exist. And if you double check, so always double check, like I double check references or information, but it may give you information on something new. And we all are here because we all are growing and learning. And I am very honored that so many people showed up and the questions keep dropping in. Dave, thank you so much. Maybe we need to make a date a year from now and see where things are. A longitudinal study. I'm very intrigued by your study of politeness and output and that whole concept that you discussed too. So everyone is thanking us. Dave, thank you so much for being with us today. For all of you, I'll be on another live in August talking about acing your Q&A session in a presentation. We will connect to Dave's LinkedIn handle, his newsletter, his course.
Here, if you want a free prompt in your inbox every week, this is my free prompt newsletter. So,
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Or I think we close by doing that as well, both to our newsletters. So, goodbye, everyone. Thank you. Dave, thank you so much for your time. We'll see you all next time. Take care.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.